Hello, welcome to Venture Capital. After more than 5 years of cash steroids, the US Federal Reserve will stop feeding the once sick US economy its monthly prescriptions. But what now? Also, the fight against banking secrecy enters its last round. And talking of secrets, Tim Kirby, he did promise us one last week, so we'll check in on him later on. He's poised at the business desk, patiently as always waiting for us. But first of all, after several hours of tense talks in Brussels this week, Moscow and Kiev signed a gas supply deal. Kiev will pay $378 per 1,000 cubic meters for their Russian gas, which is a $100 discount, and will have to pay up the over $3 billion of debt owed to Russia by the end of this year. Now, they're going to do that with the help of the EU and the IMF, who have agreed to provide financial aid. And to avoid an unpaid bill situation from happening again in the future, an advance payment system will be used from now on going forward. All right, also this week, the Fed's $4.5 trillion quantitative easing program, well, it's going to come to an end. Now, the US economy is ready to stand alone, it seems, but is the global economy? The decision comes at a challenging time for the emerging markets. Commodity prices, oil, metals and some foods, they're in this stubborn slump right now. And debt levels in many developed and developing countries, well, they remain high because of this culture of easy money, which was created by QE. Well, for more on how the most anticipated US economic move will impact the global economy and especially the emerging market, I'm now joined by Mike Ingram from BGC Partners. OK, Mike, what now then? No more easy money. How are the markets going to react?
Well, I'm not sure it is no more easy money, because what have we seen over the last 24 hours? We've now seen the Bank of Japan, enter the fray on the, up to the QE stakes, increasing the monthly purchases of yen-denominated debt. And of course, we've also got the prospect, perhaps, of easier money from the ECB. So it seems to me that, yes, the US has quit the QE game, but other central banks are actually stepping up to the plate at this point. So it seems fairly clear to me that monetary conditions globally are going to remain very, very loose indeed. Well,
what about the emerging market then, Mike? Because many people say that that is where the vulnerabilities lie. I'm talking about the likes of Brazil, for example. We know that there's been a slowdown in China as well. What happens to the emerging market now that QE from the US has stopped?
Well, certainly they're going to have to tread very carefully going forward. I mean, many of the vulnerabilities which were highlighted in the taper tantrum, so-called taper tantrum last year, have been mitigated somewhat. So, for instance, a number of the so-called fragile five currencies have seen significant devaluations of the order of 20 to 30%, and some of the current account gaps have been closed substantially. For India, for instance, was heading for a 6% current account deficit last year. It's now down to about 2.5% and likely to close still further next year. So, there are risks out there. I suppose the worry will be, and I think this is a worry for, not just for emerging markets, but for everybody else pretty much outside of the US, is if the US aggressively hikes rates, then you might actually start to see a flood of capital out of emerging markets, and that which would be dangerously destabilising economically.
And where's the weakest point, do you think, Mike, at the moment?
Well, to my mind, it's been Europe for some time. I mean, I wrote earlier on in the year about the steady Japanification of the European economy. I think the policymakers remain behind the curve in terms of managing the real economy and getting inflation back up towards the mandated target. I have a very real worry that at some point, the market might realise that even though, some of the countries in periphery, I'm thinking specifically of Spain, have shown better real growth, they've got deflationary forces, the debt dynamics still aren't looking very good at all, and at some point, these bonds might start to trade as credits once again, as they were in 2012, and then we get back into this do loop situation. Now, we're a long way from that in terms terms of the market's psyche. Obviously, the markets are euphoric today about the Bank of Japan move. But I'd have to say that you know, the growth outlook in large swathes of the European economy is dismal, and you know, debt is accumulating. At some point in time, particularly in an environment where perhaps rates in the US are rising, that the market calls time on that convergence trade.
Mm-hmm. And going back to QE, Mike, how has this social experiment, if you like, that's been going on for more than 5 years, how has it changed the global economy?
Well, I mean, in terms of its impact, it's always difficult because you're dealing with a counterfactual. We've got to ask ourselves, well, what would the world economy have looked like had QE not been enacted at all by any central bank? And of course, we don't know the answer to that. We can suspect, I think quite reasonably, that the real economies would be significantly weaker than they are right now. Maybe we would have still been in a financial crisis and banks would all have been insolvent and we'd be all living in caves. It could have been that bad, you know, 6 years ago. Having said that, I mean, part of the legacy, of course, is that, you know, we've seen you know, buoyant asset markets. We've had an example again of that today on the back of Japan's move overnight. And yet, for most people, for the, you know, should we say, the humble wage earner, you know, they've struggled in Britain. I mean, real wages aren't growing at all. So, I mean, I think, you know, the bottom line has been, you know, if you're long of assets, i.e. you're rich, you've got richer, and if you're not rich, well, you've probably got poorer in real terms, and that has social consequences and it has political consequences on the basis that we're not finished with QE yet. Probably from the US, but we're probably going to see more from elsewhere. You know, I think this is an issue that I think political parties, certainly in Europe and perhaps across the world, are going to have to grapple with, you know, going forward. And I do worry about, I say, social cohesion and stability.
Indeed. All right, Mike Ingram, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, joining us from London. Banking secrecy in its old form is obsolete. Those were the words by the German finance minister at the Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information. That was in Berlin this week, where finance ministers from over 51 countries signed an agreement with the hope to end tax evasion for good. Now, at the moment, anyone can open up a bank account in another country without having to inform the taxman in their own country. But from September 2017, the countries who have signed up to this agreement will automatically exchange this information. Now, another 30 countries pledged to join by 2018, and this includes Switzerland, where millionaires and billionaires have been keeping their cash safe for, well, around 3 centuries now. All right, time for corporate news now then. We're going to get stuck in and talk about X5 because the retail group has posted a 49% increase in third quarter net profit. Russia's second largest supermarket group has done so by sticking to low prices to ride out the food ban. As a result, the revenue forecast has been raised up to 19% this year. Russia's national carrier Aeroflot will name its new low-cost airline Victory. The name is a symbol of defiance against Western sanctions over Ukraine that grounded the original version. General Motors has written off nearly $200 million from the value of its business in Russia. More than a half of the loss is due to the weaker ruble, and the rest of the fall is down to lower car sales. The American firm's retail sales in the first 9 months of this year were 27% lower than in the same period last year. Right, it's time for Tim to reveal his secrets, the secrets of your portfolio and the one that you promised us.
Well, unfortunately, the only secret to my portfolio is the wheel itself, which disappointed me. Mail.ru Group went down 2 points, and I lost like $500.
Again?
Yeah.
This is not good. This is spooky.
No. But the real secret is I may or may not have been a former employee of the Mail.ru Group who makes a lot of video games and also has Kontakte, which is a Russian alternative to Facebook, which is in multiple languages, so anyone can sign up. But the main thing is, in Russia, there are only 2 major sets of smiley faces. One of them is made by me. So if you use some of the games on mail.ru and you get the opportunity to use their special smileys, especially the ones where the smileys have Ushanka hats and Kalashnikovs, that was drawn by me. So you can enjoy
so cool.
that.
I love little smiley faces.
Yeah,
I use hundreds of them.
Yeah, it's my former profession. I'll just have to show you after the episode, especially if they still make this one game, Legend, The Legacy of Dragons. You'll see them in there. So
brilliant. Get spinning. Go.
All right, here we go. What will I invest in this week? Let's see.
Let's see, you've got to make some money.
Oh, okay, it's not Milru again. Avtavaz. M-Video. There we go. Something that might be stable. M-Video is a major retailer of electronics, and people everywhere enjoy their electronics, Katie. So that should be interesting. But the question is, with the dollar gaining on the ruble every day, maybe electronics are getting more expensive. We'll see.
Ooh, that's something to consider for sure. But listen, we've had a bit of a freaky weekend. It has been Halloween. You're an American. Your country spends billions of dollars on Halloween, but what did you get up to? What did you dress up as?
Well,
and what did you eat?
Katie, I'm a little bit of an assimilated person here in Russia, but so I don't really celebrate Halloween, but by chance, I will show you how anyone can instantly become Russian. You buy one of these, it's called a telnyashka, which every Russian person secretly owns, male or female, somewhere in their apartment, and that's how you do it. Because I've noticed British football fans always wear the Ushanka hat, but in all honesty, in Russia, you can only wear those like 1 month out of the year because they're so hot. But this, you can wear to sleep every night.
Okay, so that's your Halloween outfit, a stripy jumper. Okay.
Yes, it is real Russian shirt for everyone.
Okay,
yes.
Right. I'm glad I asked. Okay, Tim, thanks very much indeed. Good luck. You've got to be making money because, come on, you've had a bad 3 weeks.
Well, see you next time.
You are going to lead it. Toodaloo. Now, talking of Halloween, Walmart had to apologise this week after a collection of Halloween outfits available for sale on their website were branded as fat girl costumes. And these weren't fat suits or anything like that. They were just average witch outfits in plus sizes. Now, the American retail giant did apologise for this mistake, or fat mistake, we should say. But by this point, Twitter had already been totally spooked and gone totally freaked out by it, as you would imagine. Now, I hope you're enjoying your spooky weekend. I hope it's full of more treats and tricks. I'm going to go get back in my cat outfit. Meow.